Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West to our beloved Hobbit Book Club podcast. Yeah, I'm not going to go with the epic fantasy thing this time. Anyways, I'm Joe. Here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Now, in chapter 15, the Thrush returns early on and has to quickly depart and come back because, well, no one there speaks Frushies. So, they're kind of going, what? Timmy fell down the well, and there's a whole charades act that is skipped over. I'm kidding, I had to crack that joke. But old Karka and his wife stop on by to basically act as translator. Well, they basically discuss how Smaug has died. And Roak, that's the crow's name. Roak basically says, good for everyone, right? Yeah, about that. Roak is ordered to go find Diane, and Dane, that's how you pronounce it, Dane, of the Long Beards, who's, well, further up north, I think. And he kind of just goes, I don't know about this. Like, Roak is kind of going, I will not say if this council will be good or bad, but I will do what can be done. Now, he's a vassal, but I don't know about this decision. But he goes off to the Iron Hills because, well, he's got a job to do. And you got to bear in mind, the old magic crows of the Lonely Mountain have always been servants of the old dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really like. Like, the magical animal thing in here
works.
It works really well, and I really like it. Like, I didn't originally, but then, as you read through it, you go, oh, yeah, I like this. Tolkien just has such a knack for making you like everything, almost, in his world. Well, in The Hobbit, everything is so, it's such a lovable novel. Now, they are, however, approached at the gates on page 303 of the edition I have in my hands. Should I call it armies? It's more like a negotiation party. They're basically coming along and just saying, okay, yeah, about the whole kingship and treasure thing. Like, you're king, but I think we should get a cut.
I mean, we did kill
Smaug, and it was Thranduil who opened up his coffers to the people of Laketown. Technically, those are Thorin's, his vassals. Now, it's actually on page 306 that we get the introduction of Bard to Thorin, and he says, I am Bard, and by my hand was the dragon slain, and your treasure delivered. Is that not a matter that concerns you? Moreover, I am by right descent the heir of Girion of Dale, and in your hoard is mingled much of the wealth of his halls and towns, which of old Smaug stole. Is not that a matter of which we may speak? Further, in his last battle, Smaug destroyed the dwellings of the men of Esgaroth, Laketown, and I am yet the servant of their master. I would speak for him, and, he basically says, yeah, you got a lot of my stuff, too. All I want is my stuff and a little bit more just to pay for everyone, because, somebody's got to pay for it. The thing is, he asks for 1/12 of the share. Now, this is actually quite a bit more than what I just said, to some extent. But he's not asking for the whole hoard. As Dragon Slayer, he can kind of request that. But he's saying, okay, you know what? I'll take 1/12 of it. Now, he doesn't know about all the dwarves' arrangements or Bilbo's. And remember, once he finds out, he goes, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to back off on that demand. Okay, so there was a previous agreement here. All right, I want to cut here. I still want to cut, but I'm willing to be reasonable. Bard is not unreasonable. He may be a grim guy. He may actually be a bit of a pessimist. Yeah, and at the same time, the people of Laketown fed and paid for this expedition, and
they helped nurse some of them back to health.
Yeah,
so they do have a right to.
I think that the share should, at this point, be divided. Okay, let's see. You've got Bard. You have the crew of 14, so that's 15 shares. You've got, I think Gandalf makes 15, doesn't he? Or is he part of the 14? I can't remember. Because you have, you have 12 dwarves, Bilbo, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Gandalf, so that's 16. And Thranduil does deserve a share, 17. And then you have Laketown. So that's, I think, 18 shares. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but you got to bear in mind, just, 100th of this treasure is more wealth than any other king in all of Middle Earth has. This is a mountain reaching deep into the earth of nothing but gold and treasures. What's an 18th of it?
And some of it was promised to Bilbo. That we will use some to bring you and your share back home.
But the problem is, Thorin kind of breaks his word, and even a bow of horn. And okay, so it's not a crossbow; it's actually an arrow, a bow and arrow, and he tries to kill the messenger. This isn't right. Like you've got, and I like how Bilbo's the one who grumbles. Like the whole place still stinks of dragon. It makes me sick. And cram, which is a kind of ration that has no real taste, but it's easy to make and easy to keep for a long time. Bilbo complains it's beginning to simply stick in my throat, which, yeah, he's not happy. He's like, can't I just go home? No. Oh, man. So, yeah, Bilbo's not happy, and you could tell on page 308 that Bilbo's really against this whole war. The thing is, Thorin, by chapter 16, is becoming obsessed with the Arkenstone, and is even threatening the rest of the party. That stone of all the treasure I name unto myself, and I will be avenged on anyone who finds it and withholds it. So he's basically saying, if any of you have taken it, I will kill you. And you have essentially the rest of his party going. I think some of them are suffering from Dragon Gold, but they're all, in that moment, they're scared. They're shaken out of it, and they're going, oh my gosh. Yeah, like, oh my gosh, I don't want...
If this is what it means to have this gold...
No thanks. Like, they're getting scared. Roak kind of just says, he complains again. And I fear lest there be battle in the valley. I do not call this council good. All right, good. 2 days march from the Iron Hills to here for the Danes' company of 500 dwarves. Yeah, Roak, you want to fight? No. Like, winter and snow is going to be here soon. And this treasure is likely to be your death, even if the dragon's not here. Thorin has a different strategic outlook on the situation. That the thing is, the winter will bite deeper into the men and elves, and as they've lost all their food for the winter, they're not going to be able to sustain a siege.
Mm-hmm.
And so long as we get Dane to kind of link up with the mountain and bring supplies, we'll be well fed for the winter. They won't be. But it's an incredibly cruel strategy. And sieges were often harder on the besieging army than it was on the besieged. That's historically been proven. Fact. Time and time again, historically. And the problem is, in this case, Thorin is intent on being as cruel as possible to his enemies. Which is sad, because he was once so noble and good. He was.
Yeah.
But he's since lost
it.
Yeah. On page 310, though, the dwarves settle in for the siege and post a single watch. And Bilbo has been hiding the Arkenstone in a rag that he's been using as essentially a pillow, which is a funny way of using it. I think it's going to better use than how Thorin would use it. But Bomber is the one who, he joins Bomber on his watch, and Bomber's just like, I'm cold. And how come we can't have a fire here?
Bomber was one of the first that said, what's the point of all this?
Yeah. But on the other hand, he says, not that I venture to disagree with Thorin. May his beard grow ever longer. Yet he was ever a dwarf with a stiff neck. And you have Bilbo, not as stiff as my legs. I'm tired of stairs and stone passages. And he's like, I want to feel the grass on my toes. Well, that's me kind of... I'm not quoting directly there, that last part, but... Now, the thing is, Bilbo says, you know what, you go rest, I'll take up your watch. And Bomber's he's moved. He just says, "Aw, you are a good fellow, Mr. Baggins, and I will take your offer kindly. If there should be anything to note, rouse me first, mind you. I will lie in the inner chamber to the left, not far away." Now, it's interesting that Bomber and Bilbo, who were so annoyed with each other in Mirkwood, remember?
Yeah.
And even when climbing up the mountain, Bilbo and Bomber were annoyed with each other. Familiarity did not breed contempt here. By this point, they're both miserable. They both like the good life and healthy living, essentially. Well, if by healthy living you mean 6 meals a day and the comfort of their own homes, then they're kindred spirits.
And this isn't what
Bomber's not a warrior.
Bomber's like, I didn't come here for this.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, I came to fight a dragon to some extent, but dragon's dead. We have the treasure. Now we have to wage a war? I didn't sign up for a war. But he was signed up by Thorin. I'm just saying. Now, that said, Bilbo then descends down the mountain to go and negotiate with the enemy. And I use quote air quotes there because, well, let's face it. They're not Bilbo's enemies. And the thing is, he goes there to negotiate, and he ends up talking the guy into letting him into the camp. Takes some persuasion. And Bard is initially hostile and just going, why do you tell us this? Are you betraying your friends or are you threatening us? When Bilbo tells them what Thorin's strategy is. And you have Bilbo, my dear Bard, squeaked Bilbo. Don't be so hasty. I never met such suspicious folk. I'm merely trying to avoid trouble for all concerned. Now I'll make you an offer. And you have both kings going, let us hear it. He then says, okay, here's the Arkenstone. Use it to negotiate with Thorin. Bargain your way out here. Like, you have the high ground here in terms of negotiations, because it's the only thing Thorin now loves. The Elven King ends up just kind of like, we all came here for gold. But he stares at Bilbo, because this is the most valuable treasure probably currently in existence in Middle-earth, and he's just like, oh my gosh, you'd actually give that up? And he just says, you are more worthy to wear the armor of elf princes than many that have looked more comely in it. I advise you to remain with us, and here you shall be honored and thrice welcome. He's like, you stole stuff from, like, you stole food and wine in my home. You've humiliated my men. You've made me look like an idiot. You're here knowing you were risking your own life just because you wanted to stop a war. You care more about the rest of the world than you do yourself. And he just kind of says, good on you. You know what? Stay here. We'll treat you with all the respect and dignity you deserve.
And Bilbo goes, no.
I have to make sure Bomber's okay. Like, if I don't come back...
And he's caught asleep on his watch.
While I've slipped out, Thorin will kill him. I think, well, he doesn't say that, but he knows Thorin will kill Bomber. And poor Bomber would not deserve that. And poor Bomber would feel a little betrayed. Now, Bomber was a fool in Mirkwood, we've said. And he was. I love Bomber. Even when he's like, oh, come on, guys, let's get off the road. I love him. But I also think, oh, come on, Bomber, you idiot. But the thing is, Bomber does not deserve death, despite his folly. But he's not made for travel. He's made for a good life and fathering many sons and telling them many stories on his lap. Or if they're sitting on his belly, maybe, because, well, he's fat enough for there to be all... Like, I'm just saying he's fat. Like,
I mean, he could probably qualify as a beanbag.
Yeah. I really love him. Maybe there should be merchandise of beanbag seats of Bomber.
Yes. Yes.
I'd buy that. If there is one out there, guys, tell us in the comments down below. We want one. Sorry, that's merch that I want.
I don't blame you.
I love Bomber. He's such a lovable guy. But the thing is, the Gandalf also appears in the camp, having been worried the entire time and raced from the necromancer's lair, having stopped Sauron. Now he raced over, going, oh my gosh, is Bilbo and the dwarves in danger? Are my babies okay? He really reminds me of a mother hen there.
Mm-hmm.
But then he just almost sags in relief, just going, oh my gosh. Well done, Mr. Baggins. There's always more about you than anyone expects. And he's just full of praise and cheer, and it's a happy reunion. Dane appears in the next chapter, but Bard reveals his possession of the Arkenstone, which goes about as well as one might expect. With Thorin deciding he's going to chuck Bilbo overboard. You, cried Thorin, turning upon him and grasping him with both hands. You miserable hobbit, you undersized burglar! By the beard of Durin, I wish I had Gandalf here. Curse him for his choice of you. May his beard wither. As for you, I will throw you to the rocks! Oh boy. And you got to bear in mind, the gates there are really high. Now, they're at the top of the gates. Smaug was able to fit. Now, he's a giant dragon, so he can fit in and out through the entrance. Bilbo smaller is 3 feet tall. He tosses Bilbo down from the top of those that humongous gate. Bilbo's dead. No, like he's dead. So things are getting dire here.
Mm-hmm.
And Gandalf, of course, appears because a wizard is never late. I love that quote from Lord of the Rings. I love it.
Yeah.
A wizard arrives in due time, in good time. He is never, however, late.
And here,
he's not late.
Yeah.
Thank heavens. Well, I have to admit, I've read this book before, but like even I always hold my breath and go, like when they're
you know it's a good book when that happens.
Yeah, I go, oh boy, like I suck in a breath and I go, oh boy, Bilbo. And you have Gandalf who says, if you don't like my burglar, please don't damage him. Put him down and listen first to what he has to say. Now, if it was modern times, Thorin would have said, more choice of words can toss him down. Thankfully, it's not operating by modern cinematic rules. Thank heavens. And Bilbo ends up told, all right, you know what? Get up. Scat. I don't want you anymore. And he kind of says, well, Thorin kind of, no, he's like, our friendship over, as Barney Stinson would put it. And Bilbo kind of goes, what about the gold and silver? He's pushing his luck. I love how Bilbo's like, what about my share? You promised 14th of this. Ironically, some of Thorin's honor does shine through, and he says, that'll follow. That's going to be arranged. Now get down. Thorin admits, okay, I don't want to give any money to Bard and Thranduil. Bilbo, what about my share? Okay, you know what? Yes, but get out of my sight. I'm still mad at you. How much balls does Bilbo have to just go, yeah, what about my share?
It's like the guy just threatened to toss you over and then you ask for your share.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but he's ballsier than Superman or Batman or Spider-Man or something.
Yeah.
I'd be terrified.
Because in a way, he's lucky Gandalf is there.
Yeah.
Pretty much tapping his foot.
Going, don't you touch my bestie.
Don't you touch my bestie or you'll be the one jumping off.
Next. Thorin actually says, I'll pay you. Just go. And if you're still here in 5 minutes, I'm like, that's it for you. Maybe we should do a video at some point on Roak. I really like Roak. Mm-hmm. He may be a blindly loyal guy, but he is still like he's following orders, but he's also going, is this really smart of you? On the other hand, like he's a fascinating character.
Mm-hmm.
For my notes, there's a lot of notes on each chapter. I'm just warning you guys.
They may be short chapters, but there's a lot that happens in them.
Oh my gosh, yes. I hope one day to be half the writer Tolkien is. The man was
incredible.
Yeah, just incredible. And how much lore and detail and strategy is packed into each of these chapters is just amazing. Because you got to bear in mind, I've seen a lot of people complain that there's not much strategy in the army versus army battles of Tolkien's world. Having reread this, actually, there's a lot of strategy and medieval cunning and tactics that go into this.
Does remaining in the fort while waiting for your allied army to come by
is good sense.
And,
on the other hand,
installing negotiations
till then and planning out how to delay supplies essentially for the enemy and maintain good supplies for yourself. He's basically planning out his supply lines, Thorin is, and it's a really good strategy. Now, Dane kind of arrives to negotiate, ends up being warnings from elsewhere. Smaug had other enemies in the form of the goblins, who are led by Bolg, son of Azog, who fell to Dane years ago in the Dwarf and Orcs War. And for that war, we've included in the description a link to Men of the West's Yoyston's video on Thorin Oakenshield, his epic history of Thorin. We've also included our own history of Thorin, so you could take a look at both. And the thing is, we only stopped up to the point of the beginning of The Hobbit. Yoyston's going into all the events of The Hobbit. And it's a good video for Thorin. There will be massive spoilers in this video, but it's really good. And he does get into the Dane versus Azog feud a little. And a lot of the details of the Dwarf and Orcs War, which is good background for this part of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I myself listen to his videos about 3-4 times per video almost because they're just such good videos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good for lore while writing and while patching together these videos and whatnot. Now, enough marketing him and us. Now, the Great Goblin died in the Misty Mountain, if you'll recall. Check out one of our earlier book club videos on that one as well. Now, the thing with the goblins is they hate Smaug. But once they realized that the dwarves were headed for Smaug's mountain and they learned Smaug's dead, they decided, dibs. And you got to bear in mind, I can't help but suspect Sauron's hands in this. Because the thing about the wargs and the goblins is that they can't operate independently from Sauron's will in this age. So the thing is, it's actually Sauron kind of going, I want that money. And much as the orcs do want revenge, you also have Sauron, I think, who's fled, but he's like, okay, I need this as a diversion for my flight. So, to Mordor. So, the thing is, strategically for Sauron, this battle is crucial. Even if he loses, it is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
And it served its purpose for him.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. So, everyone comes off looking like a really clever strategist here. Which that's hard to do as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's interesting because one of the main fantasy stories I've seen pull this sort of thing off was Suikoden 1. Bolg arrives with his forces around page 324, and he ends up it requires every other army to combine together against him. And although Dane was kind of against the humans and elves, he kind of turns over his supplies and says, okay, forget the mountain and gold. Let's fight off these orcs. They are monsters. Like, no, we're not having them here. And Bilbo participates in the battle, doing great for a while with the one ring on his hand, because the orcs can't see him, but he nearly gets killed a few times because people nearly hit him by accident. Whoops. Now, the interesting thing on page 324, though, is also, right before the battle, is how Gandalf and Bilbo and the two leaders end up going to Dane and going, Dane slew Bolg's dad in Moria. He's going to want revenge on you. And they're riding on their wolves and wargs, and they're going to be a ferocious enemy. You can't take them on your own. We can't take them on our own, but maybe working together, we can do this. Now, the battle starts off an uncertain affair, I would argue, at the beginning. Now, the problem is, the orcs do start to gain a bit of an advantage, but then guess who sweeps into the rescue? But Thorin! Thorin just comes barreling out the gates going, that's it. You know, like, Thorin rises to the occasion, full of honor and valor, remembering all that he once loved, and decides to, apparently, he throws himself in with such fury into the battle that the orcs almost believe he's an army unto himself. And so get trapped almost between the two armies. But then they rally and start to surround Thorin and his men. And, but that's enough of a diversion for the other armies to rally themselves and, kind of take down Bolg to an extent. Now, I absolutely love this battle.
Yeah, it's like, part of me is like, okay, when do I see Thorin and the dwarves next?
And then the eagles weigh in, because the king of eagles comes in and goes, I heard the news too, from the little thrush and his buddies. Count me in. And you've got, that's the next army. And the eagles are really what saves the day to an extent. Mm-hmm. But that said, the problem is for Thorin, though, is that, well, there comes a cost here. And we'll find that out next time. What's more, though, for Thorin, I can't help but think in this chapter 17, by the way, that I think that another part of him went, like, as much as he was like, I'm not going to let no orcs besiege me and kill my cousin and whatnot, I also think that there was genuine concern for Bilbo. That's how I read the text, where he's like, my buddy! And where you also had Bomber and the rest going, but we can't leave Bilbo out there. Him and Gandalf will die. And what about the good people of Lake Town who helped us out? And Thorin, you're right. And where, yes, Thorin was still angry with them, but he kind of said, are we going to let Dane and the others show us up? No. Are we going to let Bilbo and Gandalf and the people of Lake Town, whom we did like, those that we liked over there. Not all of them. Like Thorin, I think still dislikes Bard, but it's like some of the people in Lake Town he did like, and he's like, we're not going to let them die on our watch.
Learning, it's like learning how to fight aspects of that dragon greed.
I think he overcame it in those moments.
Yeah, because sometimes you need something shocking
to happen to break you out of madness, so to speak. And it is a form of madness.
And the more Thorin was delving into his madness, the more the other dwarves were like starting to wake up themselves one by one.
And going, I don't like this. What's interesting is that Bomber wasn't too affected.
Which shows that
Bomber values food and wine more than he values gold and silver.
It's like he's not as his greed isn't there. It's like
I think he probably wanted to spend the money on his family and on good food and wine and basically and on a cushy home.
It's like we've come all this way. Let's relax a little.
Like, why aren't we spending this money on helping others and actually having the good life? Oh no, we have to keep the gold for its own sake. Then what's the point of the gold? Roak and Bomber kind of see it that way. Same with Bilbo, even Gandalf. But Thorin, he needed a bit of a shock to realize that. Now, wait till next time to find out what happens to Thorin and company, and to Bilbo because he got hit by a rock at the last minute, and he's just lying there in the middle of the battlefield. And what did you think of this part of the book? I really love these chapters. These are amongst my favorites.
Because the one thing I like when I read a book is character interactions, the evolution of characters, and how they affect the lore and how the lore affects them. Honestly, looking at Thorin's delving into madness, how
his recovery,
the battle that is starting up, how suddenly it's like
Bilbo's in the middle of it all.
It's like, oh, maybe we should open the gates. I like that, and it's keeping you at the edge of your seat. It's like you see aspects of how Bilbo's responding to all of this, and it's fascinating. It's really good how Bilbo looks at Thorin. It's like you went from a best buddy to
trying to kill me.
Yeah, it's like,
the heck is the matter with you? I just like. I myself loved this part of the novel when I first read it at 11 years old.
And you do need sometimes a character to fall so low due to a primordial sin, so that they could rise up and that you could see
the greatness of their character,
of the character, and who the character is at their core.
Yes, and we are going to see next time Thorin at his what he's like at his core, underneath it all. I myself love this part of the book.
I can't wait to see how it wraps up.
Oh, it's great. Tune in next time, but don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Because you don't want to miss the ending of the book.
Yeah, neither do we.